I'm just stupid and I can't read this book. Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle if you haven't been here before. Today I'm going to talk about my cozy reading era. The theme of my whole life and this channel is I go through all of the phases. I get really into something for a hot minute and go deep, and then I'm like instantly out. I wouldn't consider myself like an avid reader. I know people who read I have a lot of friends who read consistently. I definitely go through phases of like when I get really into a book, I'll read like a few in a few months and then not read anything for like half of a year. So I kind of run through circles. The majority of my life I've read like a couple books a year. I mentioned it in a previous video a little bit. I'm getting to this point in life, you know, now that I'm at 32, finally like accepting the things that I'm into and being okay that if I'm not into something, it's not for me. I felt like with reading, I often felt stupid if I like didn't get into a book or if I felt like it was like beyond my reading comprehension. So I would like force myself to read things because I was like, but I heard this is a good book, and then like really struggle through reading it. Or I would just give up and be like, I'm just stupid and I can't read this book. I feel like this year is the first year that I have gotten to a point where if I don't like the book, I can just stop reading it. Like if it's like too dense for me or too above my reading comprehension, it's just not for me. Like it's not what I want to read. It's too frustrating. I want to read for enjoyment. When I choose books that are up my alley, I can get through them pretty quickly and I like truly enjoy my reading time. It's been a weird journey of just accepting that not everything is for everyone and really finding the type of genres that I'm into, which is primarily young adult and fantasy, but like very much in the like young adult reading comprehension level. I'm gonna start with some of the books that I picked up because, you know, everyone said it was great or because I felt like I should read them, and ended up either just stopping or like not really being into it. So one of the like genres of books that I tend to like gravitate to but often don't end up like loving is self-help books, especially being in this like jumbled state of like I don't know what I want to do with my life and having anxiety and depression and having struggles with my mental health. Like I felt like I needed all of the self-help books. I literally opened the book and the very first page of this book is, "This is how people talk nowadays. How are you? Busy." And literally there's a graphic of a calendar and it's just busy, 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 busy. And I saw that and I was just like, ooh, what is this book? Because that's exactly how I felt, especially in my work life. I don't quite understand this culture. Every time I talk to anybody, their answer is they're so busy. So it was just this like facade. And like, I'm not saying people are not busy. I'm sure they are, and they have a lot on their plate that they're juggling. But it almost is like people put being busy on as a badge of honor. Like, I'm so valuable and so important that I'm so busy. That's like one of the things that I've never experienced. I feel like I'm kind of the absolute opposite. Like, I'm always available and that's probably just as bad, but my take is like I don't want to be busy. Like I want to have time available for the things that I want to do, for the people that I love, and I don't want to be bogged down by things that are so like, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, like irrelevant. Willing to always do my best, but I can do my best and still have time for things I care about. So I got this book because I thought it was like going to kind of talk about how to like not be that person. It's called Make Time, How to Focus on What Matters Every Day. But it still was like a book about productivity, even though it kind of is trying to highlight like how to focus on things that you care about. It's still this like mentality of like, you might have a bajillion things to do, so let's make time in your busy schedule to make sure you focus on something. So it's a good concept, but at the end of the day, like, I don't want to fit the things I like into a busy schedule. I just want to, which to be fair, I never really had that mentality of I'm so busy. I almost felt like there was something wrong with me that I wasn't so busy, but I think I somewhere subconsciously just knew that that is not the lifestyle that I want. I want to focus on the things that I do care about and do my best on the things that, you know, I need to do to survive and get by in this world. I appreciate the book idea. It just wasn't quite what I wanted the guidance on. There's this one which is super popular. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I had heard so much about this book. Honestly, like, good things about it, so I'm sure it is a great book and super helpful for many people. It's about how to start making like small changes that will eventually like snowball to making, you know, real improvements on your day-to-day habits. It's just like the concept of us having to continually make a conscious effort to just live the life that we want to live is so mind-boggling to me. Like, how are we in a state where that isn't the main focus? Like, why are we living in a society where all the things that matter are, for whatever reason, a secondary thought? Again, there's nothing wrong with the book. There is probably lots of great information and things you could put in place that will improve your life. It just wasn't quite what I needed. The other category that I read this year, I really hadn't done before, was books related to like actual work, which knowing me, that was a bad idea to begin with. I was having like a hard time, and I had a great like mentor who was like, you should read these books and they'll help you with your role. And I ended up doing that, and I even like went, honestly, I went to above and beyond. I like hosted a book club for my work at the time. I read this book called Inspired, How to Create Tech Products Customers Love. This book is really breaking down all the kind of roles that go into building a product, and I was focused on it from like a product manager standpoint. It's a really good book if you're interested in learning more about this field. Marty Cagan, who wrote this, has like a whole like website that has a lot of material. In that regard, it was good. Like, it is a good book for people who are interested in product management. I'm a hands-on learner, so like, I'm a person who, show me how to do something, let me shadow you doing something, put me in coach. But like, reading about it or you just saying something and then expecting it to be done is not my forte. Like, I need to go through the actions of something. Lots of great content in here, but everything is always easier said than done, and I think that goes for a lot of careers. You really need to experience it to know what to do. But as good as this book is, it honestly gives me more anxiety and like meh, because I like read it because I knew I had to do this book club that I set up, and it wasn't worth it for my for the job or for my mental health. So yeah. It's a good book if you're interested in product management. For me, I had just gotten to the point I have no interest in reading about that type of content. I've listened to podcasts that are about business and product and tech. For that kind of content, I prefer listening to it than reading it. It's just a little too dense for me. Now I'm going to get into the books that I did read, for the most part, like, enjoyed. The first is a Booktok recommendation, which is The Love Hypothesis. I feel like I had seen it all over TikTok, and I was like, okay, I guess I guess I should read this. It is a super, super quick and easy read. I did think it was pretty cheesy. It's just like the type of content that I am interested in reading, which is like cozy, cute, rom-com situation. So if we were giving this like a rating, I would give it like 3 out of 5 stars. I picked this tiny little random book up when I was in New York. I think I was at Chelsea Market, and they have this cute little bookstore in there, and I saw it, and I don't know, I really don't know. Sometimes these type of books catch my eye, and I mean, this is something you can read in like an afternoon, but it's called It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be, and I think it's a marketing book. I mean, you can just flip through it. It's funny. It has like random little content, but I picked it up right before or right after, but it has this one page that says, getting fired can be a positive career move. Being fired often means that you are at odds with your company. It means the job isn't right for you. I have been fired 5 times, and each time my career took a step forward. Being fired used to be a negative on your CV or resume. Now some headhunters find it as an asset because it can show initiative. I'm not quite sure how that last one is applicable, but I think I saw that and I was like, yes, because it was the first time in my career ever that I had been fired. I mean, I don't know what to say other than like it felt like the right thing. A snippet from like the back for a description. It's a concise guide to making the most of yourself, a pocket Bible for the talented and timid to make the unthinkable thinkable and the impossible possible. It was just like the right book at the right time, you know? This next book helped me break out of this idea of what type of book I had to read. Clearly, I was trying to read these very heavy, like, get your life in order or work-oriented books. And this book, I was looking for something, and the person who was helping me at the Barnes & Nobles mentioned a few books, and, you know, I had made a comment about, oh, like, these are children's books, like, but that is kind of my reading level. She basically was like, oh, there's no, like, criteria to like what you should or can read, you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's like a children's book, and a great story is a great story, which is so true. And she actually recommended this book. It is written by an Indian author, and the book is about Indian children, and it's called The Bridge Home. I would say that this was probably written for like middle school aged kids, and it's like a pretty heavy book in terms of like the storyline. It follows 2 sisters mainly who ultimately leave their home because it's not a great situation, and then become homeless. They befriend these 2 brothers who are also homeless, and it's their like life in Chennai. It's a lovely story about sisterhood and friendship, but it's also heartbreaking. Such a great book. Like, honestly, it is heavy for that like younger group of kids, but like this is a book that I would have loved like a school reading list, because it really is harsh realities and like done so well. I love when people are able to talk about real stories in a way that can be consumed by younger audiences and like understand the weight of it, and it still be palatable and respectful of that age range. One of my favorite movies of all time is this Italian movie called La Vita Bella, which is Life is Beautiful, and it's a fictional Holocaust movie. I think I watched it for the first time in middle school. It depicts the horrific things that happened in World War II, but you're able to like watch it and as a younger person and understand the weight of it without it being completely, you know, being completely traumatized, I guess you could say. But like these type of stories are important to understand, to know what life is like in different places and different societies and cultures. I really love this book. It is not young adult, it's a younger adult, but I would recommend it to anybody. I honestly would give this book a 5 out of 5. It was one of my favorite books that I read recently. This is another Booktok recommendation. It was Everywhere and Anywhere, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I started this book sometime last year and then I lost it for a very long time and recently found it and finished it. I have a problem where if something is hyped up so much and then I read it way later, it's always kind of a letdown. And if I had read it and finished it when I first started it, I would have liked it more, but I think I let too much time pass in between. And it's still a good book. I feel like I just was like let down a little bit. I thought it was a little bit too obvious and on the nose. But it was still like a fun read. It's very entertaining. Honestly, this one's probably more on me. I would give it a 3 out of 5. I would say it's still worth the read if you just want like a quick fun read. And I got into my spooky season and I picked up the Ex Hex. This one was another Booktok recommendation. It was like perfect for the timing that I read it. Right before Halloween. It was cozy, it's cute, and I picked it up I think right before I went on my trip to Italy, and I read a bunch of it while I was there and then wrapped it up when I got back. And it was just like it was a cute, cozy read. Similar to The Love Hypothesis, it's very cheesy, but I liked it. I just I like the cute, cozy books, so I would give that one a 3 out of 5 as well. Maybe a 3.5. The last book that I finished was The Cruel Prince. This book was also, I saw on the Booktok. It reminded me a lot of the court books. It was paced really well. I think I've mentioned this before. I really like books with short chapters, so I feel very accomplished when I read. Like I can read 2 quick chapters and like feel like I did something. There's like a enemies to lovers situation, but I want there to be more and it just hasn't happened. I'd give it a 3.5. I still enjoyed it. I know it's a series. So The Wicked King is one of the books that I am actively listening to. I'll just mention really quickly that I did listen to The Woman in Me from Britney Spears. I wrote a little write-up about that one on my blog, which is in the description. I really wish that she had read it. It was an interesting choice to have Michelle Williams do it. I did like it. I would give it 3.5 out of 5 as well. I really liked the first half of it, and I felt like the second half of it just like wasn't as like detailed. She had plenty of time to reflect on the things that happened earlier in her life compared to like the situation she's been in the last like decade. So it just felt like a little bit rushed through and like not as detailed, but I still liked it. I'm hoping that she does do her next book that goes into the later half of her life a little bit more in depth. I love Britney. Wish nothing but the best for her. After I listened to that one, I was like, oh, I want to listen to another one. And then I think I saw a TikTok that mentioned like, oh, Jessica Simpson's book was good too. And I listened to that and just finished it a couple days ago, and hers is really good too. She talks about a lot of things, especially like her whole situationship with John Mayer. I feel like he did not get the like level of attention that like Justin Timberlake is getting right now from Britney's book. Like I feel like he should have, and like honestly with the amount of people who have said things about that man, yeah. I was not surprised, and I was also like, what the hell? How is this man truly never have any consequences? But I did like that she also had an anecdote about Justin, which only solidified the current wrath he's been facing. And I think it is justified. I liked Jessica Simpson's book. It's a lot about her relationships and a bit about her family. I feel like I would have liked a little bit more, again, like her like more current situation, she does talk about having addiction, but she doesn't dive too deep into it. Like it's hit on throughout the book. Honestly, for me, like it was mainly like there was like a Nick Lachey, there was the John Mayer, and then her like current husband and a couple things in between. I liked her book a lot. I think hers I would give a 4 out of 5. Aside from The Wicked King, I have a few books that I've started. I go in phases, and sometimes I'm in the mood and then sometimes I'm not. So there's a few books that I've started that I haven't finished but will eventually finish because I'm enjoying them. I just kind of pick it up when I'm in the mood for it. Kind of back to the beginning, it is kind of like a self-help book. Let me read the description. This book is about self-sabotage. Why we do it, when we do it, and how to stop doing it for good. I had seen this book all over, again, the Booktok, about like how it was such a good self-help book. I do like it. I just think it was like a little too real for me at the moment that I started, and it was just, you know, not quite the right time for me to really be open to exploring all of my self-sabotage quite yet. So I will be going back to this one. I have been wanting to read this one that I picked up also in New York, Tupac's book of poems, The Rose That Grew from Concrete. This one I was like pretty much almost done with, and I think I just like forgot where it was for a minute. Have like more recently in the last couple years realized that I do like poetry, but probably more like modern poetry. For example, I can't read Shakespeare, like it is too, it's like a different language, but I love 10 Things I Hate About You and She's a Man and She's All That and all of these like teen movies that are based off of Shakespeare. Like, oh, that's what that is? I love that. But reading it is just, I'm not smart enough for that. A book that I've recently started was If Beale Street Could Talk from James Baldwin. I've been wanting to read some of his books. This is the first one that I picked up. I just started it, so I think I got through. The one downside to this is that they are not short chapters, they're very long chapters. The reason why I also like short chapters is because I can like have a solid place to stop. I was afraid that this would be like above my reading comprehension. So far it's been easy to get into, and I'm excited to read this and hopefully some more of his books down the line. And then I picked up this book. I think I got this recommended from Booktok, as most of my books are. It's called Homegoing. I started this and then switched to my cozy books only because I wanted some cozy books. This book is really good so far, and I am this many through. It's really good. It's like multi-generational, and also like two worlds that are completely like flipped apart. I'm just gonna read the back description really quickly because I think it would be better than me trying to explain the complexity of it. Ghana, 18th century. Two half-sisters are born into different villages, each unaware of the other. One will marry an Englishman and lead a life of comfort in the rooms of the Cape Coast Castle. The other will be captured in a raid on her village, imprisoned in the very same castle, and sold into slavery. Follows the parallel paths of these sisters and their descendants through 8 generations. So I am still in their story. I have not gotten into the generations. Similar to the Bridge Home, where it's like you're getting like a real glimpse into what life could be like in that time, in that country, in the culture, and it's just so well done. And I just like knowing the premise of the book, how it impacts each and every generation, because all of these things are compounding. Just from what I've read so far, I highly recommend. I am currently actively reading The Very Secret Society of Secret Witches. It was one of the books I picked up during my cozy, spooky season. Halloween is over, but I've been in a very like witchy mood. This is just like super cute so far. I feel like there's just like a stigma around reading, as there really is with everything in life. There are no rules here, you know what I mean? Like, nobody is judging you or watching you and what you're doing. Read and listen to the things that you want to, that make you happy, that entertain you, or if you're into things that are educational, teach you what you want to learn about. I hope this gave you some inspo. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments. What are you reading or listening to right now? And what's your favorite book of all time? Alright, y'all. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Maybe it's too soon. Yeah, you know we just met. What I got to lose? Gonna send the address.